Welcome to our Ask the Expert session. We had about 4 questions in this time that were queued up. I had one expert not, the video was transferred, but we had a technical error with it today, so we'll be hearing the answer to that question in August. And I had another expert, I guess we had 5 questions in, but I had another expert not able to get her video in for this one on how to place advertising, so we'll be seeing that soon. Next month's session is on a specific topic, storytelling. It's July 21st at the same time, 12 Eastern, and I'll just leave it up to you guys to guess who that expert might be who's going to give our webinar. Anyway, today the questions that we are going to cover, putting the building blocks together for building your coalition. I know many of us have projects that involve multiple organizations, and we recently added a staff member, Jonathan Haynes, who has worked at the Maine Heritage Policy Center. He's been very active at Federalism in Action and State Budget Solutions. And before that, he got his feet wet in real politics, I like to say, rather than policy. So he's going to give us his tips on how to put the building blocks together for building your coalition. We have another question in on how to manage your Wikipedia page. Many of us have profiles put up on Wikipedia, and from time to time, people who are not so friendly to us make unsavory changes, shall we say. So I'll be talking to you a bit about how to manage your Wikipedia page, and I'll be asking the question if you even should. And then we are also going to hear from Sarah Johnson at Spotlight Liberty on how to set your email system, your mass email systems up for success. We had a good question in about that. So those are the 3 questions we'll be covering today. And with that, I'm going to start with the question about putting the building blocks together to build your coalition. So Jonathan Haynes, as I said, is from Spark Freedom, and he has a long background in setting up coalitions, so we'll let him take it away.
All right. All right. Thanks, Nicole, for the opportunity to be part of the Spark session. Again, my name is Jonathan Haynes with Spark Freedom, and so let's start about coalitions. So what is a coalition? Simply put, it's an alliance of groups and individuals that form together for a combined purpose or action. However, there's not a one-size-fits-all solution for building a coalition. There are a few key steps to consider, though, when organizing. First, you need to define the need for building a coalition. What is your purpose? Why are you coming together? What do you hope to accomplish? Next, you need to identify your stakeholders. Who needs to be at the table? Who has the talents and the skill sets to be able to see you through to victory? Then you need to determine what is your audience. Are you targeting legislators, grassroots, the media? Who's your audience? Next, you need to establish an agenda and a set of shared values. At your initial organizing meeting, you need to ask everyone why they're there and what they hope to see accomplished. By establishing a shared agenda and set of values, this will help you minimize internal politics and personality differences. Then you need to determine how the coalition will operate. What will the leadership be? Establishing this early on helps to diffuse conflict and disorder. And if it makes sense to do so, you may wish to establish project or housekeeping committees, such as communications, events management, legislative outreach. This will help you be able to accomplish smaller tasks more efficiently without having to bring everybody together and waste individuals' time. That is a very important thing when building a coalition, is that you're able to get things accomplished but not waste individuals' time. Next, you need to determine what's your message. You need to develop and define a unified message that everyone can gather behind, that they can be supportive. Because if you can't unify the message, then what happens is there becomes fractures, personalities take over, and you can't stick to an agenda. Then you need to develop a strategic plan that will guide the coalition and help keep its members focused. When you're developing your plan, you need to be sure to ask yourself a couple of questions, such as, how are you communicating? What are the tools and talents at your disposal? And then have a long-term, be sure to target short-term opportunities and wins to ensure the coalition stays relevant and together. Then you need to have regular interaction, have efficient regular check-in calls and or meetings. Be sure to highlight the accomplishments, your wins, assign call to actions, and always be sure to follow up and hold each other's feet to the fire. Lastly, you need to make sure that you have purposeful engagement, that you assess and reassess the need for having a coalition, the purpose of the coalition, and the health of the coalition. Are you guys accomplishing what you set out to do? Are you getting along? Are you unified? In short, those are the essential key building blocks to building a successful unified coalition. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at jonathan@sparkfreedom.org. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Jonathan. I hope you don't mind. Maybe put your video back on and keep yourself off mute. I had a couple questions that I thought of while you were talking, and since we have the benefit of having you live today, I thought I'd throw a question or two your way. So I've watched you manage coalitions for many years, and something that's always impressed me is how you're able to connect a person in a back office in Maine with a person in a front office in Idaho and remember their needs and desires and somehow connect those people together. So I'm wondering, what is it that you do to keep up with the hundreds and hundreds of people that you ended up balancing as part of your coalition work, and how do you keep track of whose kids are where and what they're trying to accomplish, and then put all those puzzle pieces together?
Engagement is key. Regular interaction, and then make it so where you're working with these individuals as just that, individuals, and that you're investing the time in them. And then in turn that will pay dividends when you're trying to figure out what their talents are and how that plays in. And so again, at the beginning when I said that you need to have a set of shared values, having those shared values helps to unify yourself with them, and that you know what they're working towards, and that you don't have to worry about a conflict of personality. You don't have to worry about a conflict of, well, if I'm in Maine and I want to accomplish this, they're in Idaho and they want to accomplish that. If we have shared values saying that we can both benefit from the policy objective or win, then we can come together and we can unify behind that. But one of the things I've always tried to do is invest in the individual and realize that we all have certain goals and objectives and see how we can complement each other.
Very good. I do have one other question about pitfalls that can come up in a coalition. So, and by the way, to those of you listening, if you do have a question that comes up, you can just either add it to the questions section of GoToWebinar or add it down under chat, and somebody will make sure to bring the question up at some point during the webinar if we have time for it. But the other thing I wonder, Jonathan, because I know you've balanced coalitions of people who are polar opposites of each other in all ways except for one policy issue, is what are the pitfalls, or what one or two things should you be careful of when you're putting an unusual coalition together?
So you can have individuals, so like for example, I guess when it comes to federalism, and I've worked on federalism, you can have individuals that are at odds on a variety of different things, but yet they share that common value. So you need to determine that common value. And again, that's why when you're building the coalition, ask them what do they want to accomplish from this, and you have that set agenda. But on federalism as an example, states' rights is a huge thing. And for free the lands as an example, that's an environmental thing, it's a natural resource, it's a locality. You have all these folks that are coming together, but what is the commonality? And they want effective quality management of lands, and they want greater liberty and freedom. And they don't want someone from distant DC telling them what they have to do. So finding that commonality and keep focusing on that and focusing on that is the key. In all the different projects that I've worked on, even when I was in Maine, when it came to trying to move forward different conservative policies, the biggest thing is, again, you got to look at the individuals. You got to determine if those individuals are trying to bring their own agenda to the table and push that, or are they trying to unite for a particular cause? And and so balancing that and determining what that policy is, and just keep focusing on that policy and that set agenda and those shared values is key. And if they start to get off course, or if they start to have conflict with each other, remind them why they came together and what the purpose is, what they're pushing for. Homeschool is a big issue on that one. As an example, in Maine, you have individuals that just want the government to stay out of it. You have individuals that want greater freedom. You have individuals that don't like Common Core. You have these unholy alliances that come together but they have something in common. It's their children, and it's the freedom to educate and educate how they deem necessary. And so you just have to focus on that and leave everything else outside the door. Leave the egos and the personalities, check them at the door, and just focus on what the agenda is.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jonathan. I'm not going to torture you with any other unexpected questions, but I appreciate you sharing your insights on coalitions with us. Our next question is for Sarah Johnson of Spotlight Liberty. And the question that came in was about how often should I email my list? Is once a week too much? Is once a day too much? I summarized it down for her a little bit. This also wins the Teacher's Pet Award. So the best question that came in of the set of questions gets a Teacher's Pet Award. And it goes to Cynthia Stark. So Cynthia, you're going to get a 1-hour consultation or coaching session with me. And we will reach out to you via email. But if you don't hear from us today, email me at nicole@sparkfreedom.org. And with that, let's listen to what Sarah Johnson has to say about email.
Hey guys, I am super excited to be joining you again this month for Spark Freedom's Ask the Expert video series. And this month my question is on emails. How can we make our email get more clicks? What advice can you give us on the frequency of emailing our list? Is once a week the best option, or should we hold back or email more? So we all know that we get a ton of emails. I think estimates now are like 95 to 100 emails a day, and a lot of those are spam. So how do you break through all of that noise and all of that clutter and actually get into the mind of your subscriber, and to ensure that you're actually heard and it's actually doing something? So there's a lot to consider when you start looking at email outreach methods, or starting to gauge whether or not you're effective. People look at email length, they look at visuals included in the email, subject lines, send times, days of the week, number of sends per week, and the list goes on. You can test like an endless amount of things. So that kind of leads to the fact that everyone's problems are different, and there's really no one size fits all because every list is different. Every organization's list is different. So there are several things that you should absolutely be doing if you're not already, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. My 6 must-dos are: get your list in order, know what to measure, know what not to measure, know how to set up your email, make sure you're mobile ready, and know how often to send. So when you're getting your list in order, it's really important to be honest, is a good word, about your list. Don't pad your metrics. It's so fun to say that you have, X 100,000 of subscribers, but if half of them are inactive, it's really, really going to affect your deliverability and email performance. So instead, keep your email list full of engaged subscribers to make it healthier and more effective. While having the big number is nice, like I said, if your list is outdated or inactive, it's really going to affect your metrics. I've actually seen studies that show that year over year, email lists go stale at 25% per year. So if you've never scrubbed your list for inactive subscribers, it's probably a really good time to start. A good way to get started is to clean out subscribers who've been inactive for a set period of time, like maybe 9 months, and then really start to investigate what your active subscribers enjoy. Another way to clean out your list is to start segmenting. A good way to, several things that you could segment based on would be location, industry or role within their company, content interests, behavior, like are they donors to your organization, or are they just interested in certain policy topics, and also brand advocates, and that would be someone who is involved in multiple areas of your organization. They follow you on social media, they're frequent consumers of your content, they've recommended you online, that kind of thing. The second thing is know what to measure. There are 6 things that you should be measuring if you're not already. One is click-through rates. They're the best way to measure engagement, and they're key when you start to run A/B tests. Conversion rates, that's when a recipient clicks through your email and performs a desired action. Like maybe they register for an event, or fill out a survey, download an ebook, download a white paper. The third is a bounce rate. There are two types, hard and soft. Hard is a permanent problem. It's a bad email address. It's closed or invalid. Get rid of that person. Soft is a temporary problem, like maybe their inbox is full or the server is busy. You should also be looking at list rate growth. It shows how your organization is extending its reach and expanding its audience. And email sharing or forwarding rate, this is a really important and often overlooked metric, but it shows how your email is reaching out to new subscribers and growing. And then also overall ROI for the campaign. What not to measure? Open rates. It's one of people's favorite metrics to tout, and it is just really not all that important because it's not reliable. A lot of times an email is counted as opened when an image is downloaded. That doesn't mean that someone has actually viewed your email. In addition, a lot of times an email client will consider an email opened if it's opened in a preview pane, like in Outlook. So both of these items lead to incorrect numbers, whether they're over or underreported. And then also unsubscribe rates. They really don't provide a very good or reliable picture of health for your email list. A lot of subscribers just really don't go through the whole formal process of unsubscribing. They just never read your email. So that's another good reason to really keep your emails clean for active subscribers. The fourth thing that you must be doing, if you're not already, is know how to set up your email. The first thing that you want to do when you start a campaign is to define your goal. Know why you're sending an email so that you can build it in the most effective way possible. Is it for general awareness, community engagement? Maybe you have an event and you're letting them know about that, or are you trying to get the subscriber to go to your website? Are you surveying? Also know your audience. Are you communicating with journalists or the media? Is it for politicians and their staff? Or just general voters, general knowledge sort of email? One of the things that you should be doing is running A/B tests all the time. It's a great way to learn what works with your audience and what doesn't. And just a few small tweaks to your email or call to action can significantly affect the number of leads your company attracts. There is a general kind of a rule of thumb with A/B tests, and you probably already know it, but just in case you don't, always test one variable at a time. Do more visuals lead to an increase of click-throughs? Does one layout work better than another? Does one subject line that includes the number lead to more opens? When's the best time to send? These are all great questions, but they should only be asked one at a time. The fifth thing is make sure that you're mobile ready. So close to about 20% of emails are open on mobile devices. And from organizations I've worked with, I think it really depends on your industry because I've seen numbers close to 50%. So making sure that your email template is optimized for mobile is really, really important. So what does mobile optimize mean? Like, what are you looking for? One is test how your email delivers with coworkers who have different devices. Do they have a Samsung? Do they have a Google phone? Do they have an iPhone? What are they using? It's nice to test it out on those different devices. Two is make sure buttons and links are easily clickable on touch screens. They're not too small. The font isn't too big or too small, and that you don't have to click around on the button to find where to go. Offer both plain text and HTML versions of your email, and when you go into the plain text version, omit any extraneous HTML code from the plain text version. Also use descriptive alt text captions in case your images don't load, and make sure that your email links if your email links to a form or web page, that those are optimized as well. And the sixth thing is know how often to send. And this is a big beast. So there's a lot of data on this and way too much to go over on this video series. But first of all, you've got to test it for your organization. Only you know what works best for your audience. There are some really, really good research reports out there from HubSpot and Marketing Sherpa. and they'll really help you know where to get started on what kind of benchmarks you should be looking for. So what I'll do is I'll send those over to Nicole, and then if you have any questions or are interested, just shoot her an email and she'll have those ready for you. So I hope that this helped you. I know it was very 10,000 foot level and very, very quick. But if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, at spotlightliberty.com, and I'll be happy to answer your questions as well. Okay, bye.
Well, wise words from Sarah, and I love how people often answer any question that's sent to Spark Freedom with, who are you trying to reach and what do you want them to do? That's sage advice for almost any communications or marketing project. If you haven't answered those questions yet, it's always good to start there. You may be wondering why this won the Teacher's Pet Award, and the reason it did is we've been seeing, I was so glad somebody asked it, because we've been seeing a lot of stress put on social media as your outreach tool and Facebook advertising and things like that. And the one drawback to social media is that you do not own your contacts there. So I'm not saying don't use it, but I am saying any strategy that you have online should be leading to real tangible contacts, like your actual email lists or addresses or meeting people in person. And in the last 6 months, for those of us who manage Facebook pages for our organization, you've seen that engagement is way down unless you pay for it. And right now the best way to get any action on Facebook for free is to post in a Facebook group, not a Facebook page. It's completely gone 180 degrees. And then further complicating that is if the group is newer, then the people who signed up get alerts right away. If a group I joined 3 years ago, it's also not getting much engagement. So unless you've gone in and manually adjusted what you get notified on. So, the thing that we've seen in the marketing world is a return to being a little bit more purposeful with the email list, which you actually own, as opposed to focusing all of your efforts on social. So, wise words from Sarah. And then I was just giggling to myself as she talked about optimizing it for your phone, because I read 100% of my subscription emails on this device right here. And every so often I get one where I have to scroll up and sideways and I'm trying to squish it down. So think about who you're reaching and who your target audience is. The reason I do that is because as an executive of a nonprofit, I'm on the road a lot. And when do I get time to read things like subscription emails? Well, sitting at the airport or somewhere else, and I'm going to be doing that on my phone rather than on my computer. Anyway, let's move on to the last question of the day. Remember, you can ask questions that we'll cover at the end to the best of our ability in the questions screen. And the last question, it was actually 2 different sources for this question, so I'm summarizing it. It was, in essence, the core of it is, how do I manage my organizations and our top personalities' Wikipedia pages? Because we've recently had a focus on either things that are not true or other vandalism. And that's a really good question. And it's funny because I'd say about 5 years ago in the movement, people were very, very worried about Wikipedia, and then everybody just threw up their hands and walked away pretty much. And there's a reason for that. The first question you need to ask yourself on Wikipedia is, why do I care? Is my Wikipedia page harming our reputation or our goals? And if the answer to that is no, then honestly, I just walk away from Wikipedia and concentrate on building your reputation other places. However, your Wikipedia page isn't necessarily something you should ignore, especially if it's a big battle zone. So if there has been vandalism to your Wikipedia page, the one thing you should not do, and I'm saying this up front, is you should not go in and edit your Wikipedia page and start engaging with people who are vandalizing it. That can only lead to trouble. Wikipedia doesn't want you to do that. You're not really supposed to manage your own page because it's supposed to be done by a third party with credible links to sources. And you are not a credible source, and your organization's website is not a credible source. So if somebody cites something you've done in the Wall Street Journal, that's a credible source. If I say it on my website, not credible. That is hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around, but it's how Wikipedia works. And they do have a dedication to trying to maintain balance. They have special terms of use for personality pages of people who are still living. So, and especially political figures tend to invite a lot of, interaction and vandalism. Now, if you've decided not to, actually, I'll back up. So either way, if you're not going to engage on Wikipedia or you are going to try to get some help, something that you may want to do is reach out to the editors if you see vandalism and just point it out and say, I'm not trying to do anything with my page, but this isn't accurate. That's okay to do it one time. Another thing is if you have friends who are editors, and Wikipedia editors, most of the ones I know are balanced and they want accuracy on Wikipedia. And you can just say, hey, would you mind looking at my page? They can go through and put layers of, so there's a patently false statement. Nicole Williams is really a man dressed as a woman. I don't know, something like that. And there's no citation. They'll just put in a neat citation thing, and then if nobody comes up with a valid citation, they'll take it off there. And I've seen that happen as quickly as a week. So, those sorts of things happen. And then once an actual balanced Wikipedia editor gets involved with something, they usually get notified if somebody reverses the changes. So it's actually very good if you can get people external from your organization interested in helping you, as long as it doesn't turn into a wiki war. And then the third thing about why do I care is, well, one of the reasons I care is Wikipedia is the first search result on Google when you search my organization's name, right? Okay, well, that's the problem that you can work on separate completely from Wikipedia, and a purposeful long-term effort to bump Wikipedia down in your organization's search result helps just make that problem go away, because when people search you on Google and on Bing or whatever they're using, they'll see other citations, and then eventually they'll get to Wikipedia. One organization I looked at recently had Wikipedia down to number 4, and I said, well, that's a good start, because now people aren't seeing the Wikipedia vandalized page first, they're seeing the other citations of the good work that your organization is doing. If you do need to engage on Wikipedia, again, use people who are not you, work with them, provide them with credible sources to real information, and if you've done something bad in your life and it's on Wikipedia, just embrace it. The unfortunate thing is we're human, right? We've made mistakes, and sometimes we've done things that we're not proud of. If it's been covered well in the news, it's there, but maybe you can focus on getting more of the positive things about your more recent achievements up there. It's just like Bill Clinton can't really deny that he had an affair with Monica Lewinsky. It's well documented, but then he can try to get other things on his Wikipedia page that sort of de-emphasize that particular affair. The reason you don't want to engage directly on Wikipedia, and I personally made this mistake about 8 years ago when I was at Tennessee Center for Policy Research. I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to edit our own page, and I edited it, and people started just attacking me, and I didn't know why, and then I was like, oh, I see. You don't want a wiki war, because you start looking less credible and like you have something to hide, and all your conversations about edits are public and they last forever. So you don't want to be getting into an emotionally charged argument online that everybody can read that could perhaps make your reputation go back even further. Anyway, I guess I could sum it up in, first, make sure you need to engage to change it. Make sure you're not telling any lies or not hiding something, because you're not going to be able to. You just want to bring up the achievements. Work with credible wiki editors to help you get rid of the vandalism, and I've seen a lot of success on reversing vandalism over time. Don't do anything quickly, and then make sure you're adhering to the community standards, because if you aren't, you ruin your own credibility. So that's the last question of the day. I am available for questions, and actually Jonathan probably is too if we can get him back on video and off of his mute button. Are there any questions from attendees that you would like us to cover on today's Spark session? Okay, and then I have one to Sarah. Can we get a quick overview of best research on effective email frequency? Heartland Institute sends out about 6 times a week to different audiences, but most people get at least 1 or 2 a week. And this, I can't see who, oh, it's from Jim. Jim, Sarah was not live today. She was pre-recorded, but she did send me over 3 really good sources for this kind of information. So we will send that out in the show notes right after this. I think it will take a little while to produce the video, so probably tomorrow we'll have those links out. If we don't have them out by tomorrow, Jim, I'll just email you personally to make sure you have the links. But she has links to lots of research on what frequency works. I think going back to what Sarah said, though, how are your audiences responding to that level of frequency? Some of them may love it, especially people who are really into being up on the latest in politics and policy, like getting lots of emails. And I've found success at think tanks with letting people choose, do they want the daily update on a topic, or do they want weekly digests or monthly digests? That can all be automated and made much easier for you if you're using it to get information. So that was a big it depends for you, but we'll also send you out the links to the information. And then, are there any other questions in chat or questions? Oh, Jim says thanks. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions come up. I want to thank everybody for making time to be with us today. We will get at least the audio for this out tomorrow. We are actually going to move platforms off of GoToWebinar next time around because we chose them because they could record the webinar and we could take questions and it's very interactive. But when we signed up for this service, we were under the understanding that they recorded video, and they don't. They only record audio. 4 years ago, I moved away from GoToWebinar because they only recorded audio and said that recording video was under development. 4 years is a little too long for us to wait. So we're probably going to be on a slightly different system for the storytelling webinar on July 21st at 12 Eastern. And, excuse us if there's a few getting started glitches on that one. I'm sure it'll be fine. But we want to make sure you have the video to refer to after the show. We do have one of our faithful employees recording this on their own computer, so we hopefully get the video this time. But if not, it will be audio only. I have Sarah's video, so we can show that to everybody else. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great week and that you're getting your freedom message out to as many people as possible. This year has been an interesting year to watch go down in the policy world, and it just reminds me how important it is, all the work all of you are doing. So make it a great week.